All right, welcome to Investors Playbook, episode 6. My name is Cornell Rowan.
And I'm Deshaun Edwards. And today we are talking about student loan forgiveness. We have been hearing this in the news. It's kind of been a big topic lately. Why? Because they are back, right? It's been 3.5 years. We had a long stint where we did not have to pay student loans. So, all right, Cornell, let's dig into it, man.
All right, so just as Deshaun said, student loans has been a huge issue for years, man. At this point, I know since back, I know parents that are still, paying off their student loans, and I mean like people in their 50s and 60s, which is really ridiculous, and that's why they call it a student loan crisis. So, I know to start off, we just wanted to talk about how student loans are coming back, as Deshaun said. I think October 1st was the first payment. Am I correct on that?
You are correct. October 1st was the date that a couple of people had to pay their first student loan payment in 3+ years. So, yeah. Did you? So, what about you? Did you have to make a payment?
I did not. What's crazy is, and I don't even know why this is. I called, and I'm the dummy that called because I should just be like, okay, no payment.
Like, I don't got to give y'all no money right now.
I was confused, man. When it comes to my credit, I don't play with it. So I,
No,
I
I
kind
get
of
it.
called. I was like, yo, why do I not have a payment? They said I'm under some government issued forbearance, and I had no idea why. And so my question was, does this still count towards my public loan forgiveness? Because I'm in a public service job, so that's something I have to look forward to. So they told me yes, under this for special forbearance, I don't have to make a payment, and these payments still qualify even though there's zero. So I was I was like, hey, all right. So after that, it is what it is, man. So that's where
Yeah.
I'm at.
Is it you don't have to make a payment indefinitely? Did they give you a date?
They told me 2040, like
Wait a
2000.
second. Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. So you don't have to pay any student loan payments for the next 20 years,
I
and your
don't.
loans are going to be forgiven pretty soon.
My loans will be forgiven in less than 2 years, but I don't know if they put that so they have time to figure out whatever they got going on with my loans. I'm not sure. But hey, I'm happy right now. So
2040 sounds wild, but I'm happy for you too because that's crazy. That's crazy.
zero. So all right. So just a little bit of statistics. Student loan debt stands over 1.7 trillion in the United States, which is crazy. So 92% of this is federal, and 8% of this are actually private loans.
Mm.
And actually, according to CNBC, we did a little bit of research. Nearly 40% of borrowers are expected to default on their student loans.
Wow. All right, so let's talk about that for a sec. You're saying that defaulting people who are now going to have to pay their student loans October 1st, right, are just not going to be able to pay it. And my question is, what happens then, right? what happens to individuals who can't pay the student loan debt, who didn't kind of factor that in to their finances or into their budget, right? What happens to them? I know that we, of course, need to figure that out and figure out, do our research so that we can have that conversation with people when they ask. But I'm interested to know, what happens. Does it affect your credit score? Does it, you know what I
For
mean?
sure.
So,
Yeah. On your student loans, it definitely affects your credit score. Yeah,
yeah.
man, that's why people need to get ready. They
Hmm.
need they should have already been ready. But like if you're not ready, you need to get ready. And of
Right.
course, there's certain ways to get ready. I don't know if you like to fill them out on that, Deshaun.
Yeah. Um, no, you're good. You're good. So, of course, we can't go back in the past. We can't go back and say, I don't want to take out these student loans, and we can't save yesterday. We can just pretty much start saving now, right? One of the biggest things that anyone can do to prepare for student loans is to re do a readjustment of their budget, knowing how much money is coming in, and adding this new expense to their budget, seeing where they can factor that in, right? Because just to completely ignore it, like Cornell mentioned, it will affect you. It will affect your credit score, which can have a trickling effect, affecting you taking out any type of loans, home loans, car loans, getting more credit in the future. So again, people, the most important thing is to just understand that this is happening now. I know that it's gotten pushed over and over again. Student loans are coming back. Well, never mind. They're gonna come back in 3 months. Never mind. They're gonna come back in 6 months. Like, it's happening now. They're not pushing it anymore. So, time to incorporate that into your budget, right? Incorporate that into your budget and just understand. All right, now that I have to make this payment, what do I need to change? What do I need to configure to make sure that I don't default on my student loans so that it doesn't affect my credit score? Right. So that's one of the biggest things that I think people need to take into consideration. And I think is more important. But I think you might have another one.
And man, and just to add to what you were saying, collecting your student loans is not a solution, man. Because you see people on student loans being like, "Hey, forget them student loan people. They're not gonna get a payment. All right, play with these people if you want to."
Yeah.
As Deshaun said, it will affect your credit and it will affect your everyday life. You don't want to be walking around here with bad credit just because you didn't talk to these student loan people, and do what you need to do. So they have certain programs like the income driven repayment program. Like, whatever you're making, if you're not making a lot of money, enough money to pay your loans, they will work with you to a certain degree.
Right.
So your student loan payment might be like $800, but if you give them your income tax and it doesn't match up to how much your payment is, you'll actually have a lower payment. One that I'm not gonna say that you're just able to pay it, but it'll be better than if you're not on that income driven repayment plan.
Right. And I don't want to get like too many people's hopes up, but I've seen income driven repayment plans have a payment of $0.
Yeah.
So that doesn't, you have to take interest into consideration. Your interest is that kicks back in as well, so that's going to start accumulating. But if you can, that gives you time to figure out, how to actually start paying down a student loan. So that's definitely something to look into. The income driven repayment, like Cornell mentioned, it can drastically change the amount you have to pay every month. It doesn't remove you from the student loans. They're still going to be there, but it gives you time to figure out how to pay that student loan. If you can get that payment down from 800 to 250, you're going to have to pay 250. Of course, the interest will still accrue, but it'll help you out, give you time. So that's definitely another thing. You're right. Income driven repayment is another way that people can kind of get out of the not paying so much in student loans, right?
And
Yeah.
it is after you get this payment, Investors Playbook can actually help you because, as you know, we provide budgeting assistance. So if you would like to book us, all you have to do is go to Investors Playbook LLC and place a time. Just
There you
just
go.
book. We got you.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I definitely wanted to hit on, right? Because so many people, this is a new payment for so many people, or new for people who just graduated school, say 2020, they never paid a student loan payment. They don't even know what it feels like, right? So, uh, definitely want to factor that into your budget. Investors Playbook has your back, right? So, yeah,
And and it's definitely a problem now because right now, this year in 2023, borrowers have an average of 37,000 in federal debt. And also, it's even higher when it comes to private as far as the average. It's 54,000. So, factoring these payments into your budget is so important. So, if you're unable to do it yourself, just book us and we can make that happen for you. So,
absolutely.
so Deshaun, I know that you went to I know that you went to college, got multiple degrees. I know you got one from Savannah State, one from Kennesaw. Uh,
Hmm.
so, what's your relationship with student loans?
So my relationship is a bit of a mixed bag, right? I think when I was getting my bachelor's degree, I was a lot less mature than I was when I was getting my master's. Um, I didn't understand. Uh oh. I didn't understand the the future sight of taking out an enormous amount of loans, right? And we went to Savannah State, so it wasn't an enormous amount of loans, but it was an amount of loans that I didn't necessarily need to take out. Taking out more money than I needed for school, um, because I wanted a refund check, right? I wanted to have that extra. I wanted to have that extra money to do with. I don't even know what I've done with. I mean, what I did with it. I either through parties, whatever the case may be, bought video games. I don't know, but that money is gone now, and I have to pay that money back. But when I got to grad school, I did the same thing. And I took out more money than I needed for school, but instead of squandering it and paying and putting it, making it go to the ether, I used that exact money to start my Roth IRA. I threw, because I threw the money that I got from the refund check, right, and I started investing that into the stock market. I opened up a Roth IRA. I opened up a brokerage with Fidelity, and all of that extra money that I had. So mind you, I'm getting a master's degree in electrical engineering. So in my head, I'm already thinking I'm gonna get a good job. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna pay me well. And the additional money that I received, I thought, and this is kind of the start of our financial journey, right, Cornell? Like when we were just starting out, we opened up this retirement account. We learned about it. We invested in these mutual funds, and we started opening our individual brokerage accounts or our individual accounts and started investing in those, investing in individual stocks. So, bachelor's, cool. I blew the check. Master's degree, I did the exact same thing, but I invested that money. And now the mutual fund has grown. You can imagine. I graduated in 2017, so 2015 is when I started. Right, got the refund check like mid 2015. Started investing in the stock market. This is over 5-7 years of just putting money into, or 5-7 years ago, right? Just putting money into a retirement account. Just imagine where it's at now. So that's kind of the story, right? The beginning was like, all right, I messed up. I learned from that mistake though, matured, started investing the money that I took out. So that's my story. What about you, Cornell?
Man, so there's so much to unpack there because, like, you. Let me just start with my story with student loans, the negative part. Okay, so I was one of those kids. I wasn't a scholar. I
Hmm.
wasn't in high school, but still, everyone in my high school, my community was being pushed into college. If you got your acceptance statement, you were celebrating. And if you didn't get an accepted letter, you don't get anything. So it was just like, hey, either go to college or you're a loser. That's basically the message that was being pushed to us, especially in DeKalb County. So I went into college not knowing what I wanted to do. That's the first problem. Like, you're sending kids to college not knowing what they want to do. So I
Right.
started with I think I started out as an engineering major because my dad was an engineer. I'm like, yeah, I want to do what he does. My dad was an engineer. And
Hmm.
not knowing that it wasn't for me. So I started taking the classes. I'm like, man, I'm not even interested in this stuff. So then I changed to like business. And then after that, I'm like, dang, I'm not interested in this either. Like, I think at this point I would be more interested. But as a immature child, I just wasn't feeling it. So
Right.
at Savannah State, and I'm just trying to find the degree that can get me out the fastest. I'm like, okay, what class do I already have? Which degree is gonna get me out the fastest? So I went with behavior analysis, and then I got up out of there real quick.
Yeah.
So that's just to say, now I feel like it's good that it's more accepted for kids to go to trade and to do different things, do different alternatives than go to college. And college is not the only thing that's being accepted, because there are kids that went into college, didn't even finish, and
Yeah.
now have student loan debt with no degree.
Right. Right.
Which-
I mean, there's that. They also have the students who did finish and got a bachelor's degree in something that just doesn't pay as much. You know what I mean? Because my one credit costs the same as your one credit, right?
Right.
So I think you got to imagine college like an investment, right? You're taking this money out in hopes that you get a job that can help you pay the money back, right? So yeah, you got those people who didn't finish, those people who did finish and couldn't find a job, or who did finish and could find a job, but the job ain't really paying all that much, right? So
And you're right, because you do have those people that went to college and got a degree in things like theater. You see
right.
what
See, I didn't want to name any degrees because I don't want to
I
bash
mean,
anybody, but that's reality though.
it's not bashing. It's just it's realistic. You
Yeah,
see
it's
what I'm
realistic.
not bashing myself. These are just the mistakes that I went through. Just
Yeah,
knowing as a kid, you're just the people around you, the mentors. You're listening to them, and you're not really thinking about what it is you want because you're so impressionable at that age. You
right.
see, don't get me wrong. I love the relationships that I built in college. You know, that's how I met you, Deshaun. And now look at us, we're business partners. You see what I'm saying? So I wouldn't want to take those things back. Like I love the relationships, but if there was a way that I could have the network that I have and have those relationships that I built in college without actually going to college all that money, I probably would have.
Right.
But just like you, um, just to get back on track, I know I kind of went on a rant.
No, you good. I was about to say, you, bro, you got to let them know, man.
Yeah.
Gotta let 'em know.
But just like you in undergrad, I blew that money, man. I was spending it on crazy things. I was spending it on video games. I remember I think it was like the Xbox One. I bought that with a
I
refund check.
remember that.
I was
Marvel versus Capcom 3. I remember that, bro.
we were on it hard, man, and I spent my refund check on that. I was not being intelligent with my money. I didn't have the right people um behind me to make good decisions. You know, at that point, we could have really bought a house. We were paying rent in Savannah. We really could have bought a house. We could have
Yeah.
put like a $5,000 down payment on a home, bought it, and then when we moved out of Savannah, we could have rented it out. We could have did smart things, like as you said. And I'm going to move on to the positives, like what you said when you got your master's.
Mhm.
So with me, with my graduate degrees, I got smart also. So of course we did this together. We made this decision that hey, we're going to continue to take out more than we need, but this time instead of buying an Xbox and alcohol,
Mhm.
we are going to invest it and get more on our money. You
Exactly.
see what I'm saying? So me, Deshaun and I, we actually bought into mutual funds. I remember our first mutual fund was FSCSX. I will never forget that. And
That was a game changer right there, man.
was a game changer, man. And we placed our refund check into this because knowing our interest on the student loans was no more than 5%.
Mhm.
But the gains on this mutual fund was at least 20 a year. You see what I'm saying? It was at least 20% a year. I'm not saying that all stocks are going to move like that, but this one was moving like that.
Yeah.
Now we're looking at it. I don't. We got our masters probably like 8 years ago. I know you got yours a year before me. So
Mhm.
what was
It
that
was
like?
2017. So,
So
yeah, roughly 7, 8 years ago.
6 years ago. So yeah. So we got our master's degree, and now looking back, I just looked at my FSCSX before this live. I'm up 168%.
That's crazy.
Up 168% on something that I'm paying a minimal amount of interest on. So
You
it's
ain't paying no interest on it. What you mean? You
money. It's profit at this point. I'm
right.
taking that I borrowed. This is opportunity cost. Instead of paying it back to, I'm not saying it's morally the best, but instead of paying it back,
Everybody's situation is different, right?
er, instead of paying it back to the government and paying those student loans, I invested it and I'm making more money on that money based on opportunity cost.
Right. And I think another thing is, even if you do have to pay it back, they're not asking you to pay $20,000, $40,000 back tomorrow. There, you have the income driven. You have a certain amount that you can pay, and then if after you graduate, you take that 20 and you begin making payments over time. But like Cornell said, he invested a large chunk of that into his retirement account, into his investment portfolio. And just imagining if he did have to make those payments again, it wouldn't be $20,000, right? It wouldn't be the exact amount that you took out. It'll be small chunks of that you have to pay back, and you're still again profiting. regardless of if you are paying back, if they say you did have to pay back money starting October 1st, it would be at this point, like you mentioned, profit. So, and that can go for anybody, right? The amount of money that you can make investing in the stock market, as far as interest, it kind of outweighs the amount that you have to pay in interest on a student loan. So you got to think about all these things, right? When you're talking about um, pulling out more money than you need, if you need to pull out money at all. So it's a lot of different ways to slice this, right? It's just with us, we decided to intentionally take out more than we needed because we had a plan with that money, right? We had intention with that money.
So let me talk about my plan. I'm not sure if I ever went over this with you, Deshaun. My plan is, instead of me just paying off my loans, I'm just going to invest all that money that I will be putting into student loans into the stock market. You get what I'm saying? Because it's growing at a greater rate than what my interest is. And then if I ever feel the need to pay off my loans, I'll just pay it off in whole. You see what I'm saying? Because instead of me paying off my loans, I am making money in the stock market over years. It just doesn't make sense for me to be putting this money on my student loans right
Right,
now
right,
when I can more in the stock market than pay it off later.
right. No, and that makes perfect sense too. I'm just talking for the people who have to make those payments so that they don't default. You know what I mean?
No, I get what you're saying. I
Uh,
was still, you get what I'm saying? But that's not, I can put more money into the stock market instead of me putting heftier payments on the student loans and try and pay them off.
oh
So
yeah, for sure.
I wasn't speaking against what you were saying. I was just saying what my uh plan was.
Got
Right.
you, got you. Nah, that makes sense. And I know also what your plan, and you've mentioned this to me before too, is that you have again less than 2 years until your loans get forgiven. So the amount of money that you did invest into the stock market, now let's say you, for example, if you did have to pay loans back, cool, you'll pay them back for 2 years and then they're gone, right? Would that still kind of factor in with you
So
paying them all at once if were gonna do the public service forgiveness?
so until this term with Biden, student loan forgiveness was not reliable. So
I see.
of course I was going for it, but I wasn't relying on it.
Yeah.
You see? So I was putting this money aside for my student loans. If I get forgiven, cool, I get to keep all that money. But in the chance that I do not get my loans forgiven, because you always have a plan B. You see what I'm saying? I'm never gonna completely rely on something else to 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 help me. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, option, I'm going to go for it because who doesn't want to get all their loans cleared? But
Right.
at the end of the day, I'm going to set myself up to be able to pay it, even if that does not go through.
hmm And I think that that is another. Well, that kind of it can segue us into the next conversation. That what we're talking about people who did rely on that student loan debt relief, right? And that kind of removed them from even factoring that into their budget. Now that it's coming back, um, people haven't planned for it. And I know we mentioned defaulting earlier, but it's like, how can you go about this in a way where you have that plan B, so you aren't expecting it that to kind of be the only way out. And then, like you mentioned earlier, this is a new thing where Biden is in office. What happens when he's no longer there? Does all of this just go away? You know what I mean? You have to think about things beyond just what they're saying right now, right? So regardless, you have to have a plan outside of saying the government is going to forgive my loans, because it could definitely not happen.
You are absolutely right, man. If loan forgiveness is not a path for you, if it's not a solution for you, uh, you can definitely think about refinancing. If your interest rates are too high and you need them to be lower, or you have private loans and you have federal loans and you need them together, you can refinance to try and get a lower rate. But the only thing with refinancing, which you have to be careful about, so you
hmm
rate, but this also means that you're forfeiting access to federal repayment plans.
Right. Right, which
Like,
was recently announced, right? The federal repayment that Biden just mentioned talks about the 10-year for public service.
so that's loan forgiveness. So you're
Okay,
that also, but the repayment plan is like the income driven repayment plan. You see what I'm
gotcha.
saying? Where if because now you have a stationary payment and there it's not based off of your income.
Oh,
It's
I
ba-
got you. Got you. Got you. Yep.
it's basically like having a personal loan. Like if you go get a personal loan, they're not going to base that off your income after you got it. Like if you lose your job, you still got to pay that personal loan,
Yeah.
whatever that amount is. But with the your student loans being with the federal government, it has certain benefits like the income driven repayment plan, and you can get loan forgiveness. So the types of loan forgiveness that actually this was put in by it was started by Barack Obama.
Hmm.
So he started this, but it wasn't working the best. Like I think less than 1% of people were actually getting through with the loan forgiveness.
Right.
So public service loan forgiveness works now.
Hmm.
You know, me being a teacher, I'm seeing my coworkers, their loans are being wiped. So after
Right.
10 public service and making 120 payments, it's one payment for each month. There are 120 months in 10 years. So after that, their loans are being wiped. Also, people who have been paying their loans for 20 years, this is everybody. If you've been paying your loans for 20 years, your loans are wiped.
Hmm.
And also, if you're permanently disabled, your loans are wiped,
Yeah.
regardless. So, of course, the idea has been in effect since I think it was like 2009, for a long
It's
time,
been a minute. Yeah, it's been a while, but it's
but
actually happening now.
it's actually happening now.
Hmm.
That's
And
something
then
that,
even those years that happened during COVID, those still count as payments, even though no one's making those payments, right?
right.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
3 years. That's like 36 months that you got kind of free. You know what I mean?
with
So,
no interest and no payments, which is
right.
crazy.
Right. Yeah. It is crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So this is basically our loan repayment. Loans are coming back. You have several options on what you can do with your loan. So based off this information, it's up to you to figure out what your next step is.
Yeah, definitely. Make a decision. Decide on if you're going to play the long game, pay the 20 years, get them forgiven over time, look into the income driven repayment, or factor them into your budget. If you are making, an amount of money where the income driven doesn't work for you, then figure out how you are going to integrate this new payment into your budget, right? What do you need to do? How do you need to adjust your lifestyle? So those are, yeah, the things that you pretty much have to. That's the new hot topic is figuring out what to do with these new student loan payments. How are we gonna adjust our life to those things? So I think that one of the things that I also wanted to talk about is I know that me and you both mentioned during our bachelor's, we did not know what we were doing when it comes to student loans. So I think it's very important to understand how financial education plays a part in going to college, deciding to get student loans, deciding to get private loans, taking out loans in general. It's just important to know what you're doing, right? It's important to know how you are planning to utilize the student loans, if it's something that's necessary. So think about all these things, and of course, we have a wealth of knowledge as being financial coaches. We have a wealth of knowledge, and we can educate on, or at least advise on what to do when it comes to figuring out how to factor in student loans, or if you are thinking about going back to school and getting your master's, how student loans could play a part in that. So yeah, we it would just be a conversation that we need to have. But regardless, financial education is at the heart of all that. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Perfect. Well, so I think we hit all points? What do you think?
No, I think we're good. I mean, there are of course intricacies that go into everybody's situation, but I think we did a nice blanket over what student loans are, the fact that student loans are coming back, different ways to kind of tackle student loans, and then just how it all even started, right? Like how people even got into this situation where they now have this money that they got to pay back. So, no, man, I think we hit all the topics, bro.
I think so also. So if you like more tips and to see videos like this, of course you can follow us on IG and YouTube at Investors Playbook LLC. And also you can join our Facebook community,
Yeah,
Investors, to have more conversations like this.
be
And I
blessed.
thank y'all for your support and thanks for tuning in. This is episode 6, man. We still running. That's
Yeah.
what's up.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all. Have a good evening. Have a good rest of y'all week. Be blessed.
Peace.